Hello, everybody, and welcome to this job teaser masterclass, job winning CV. It's just starting time now, so we should get going, and people are still trickling in. But my name is Mikkel. I work for Job Teaser, and I'll be the interviewer in this masterclass about job winning CV, and it's aimed to give you the best guide into how to get your first job. I'm here today with Astrid, and she's a recruitment specialist at Paratos, who's going to explain how to create this kind of job-winning CV. And hi, Astrid.
Hi, Mikkel. How are
How
you?
you go? How are you? I'm good.
Great. Great. Really excited to be here.
So, all in all, today we're going to go through your experiences in what is a good practice, how to lay out a CV, how to build it, both in content wise, but also in the message that it forward brings. So also we will have time for questions, and you can ask your questions in the question box. There's both a chat and a question box, but if you write your questions for Astrid in the question box, you can vote on questions as well, and we'll select some and hopefully be able to answer. But before we head into it, maybe it would be nice with a little background on you, Astrid. What do you do professionally and maybe academically? What is your background there?
Yes. So, hi, everyone. I'm Astrid. I'm living in Belgium. I studied a master degree in commercial science with specialization in people management. And then I started working. I now work almost 5 years at Piratos here in Belgium. And I'm a recruitment specialist for all kinds of profiles that we're looking for, from operators for production environment, but also like technicians, bioengineers, but also R&D specialists, marketing managers, up until higher levels. So it's quite diversified, and yeah, building up my expertise in recruitment.
Thanks. Yeah, and I can see in the chat there's already some comments, and we will be recording the session, so it'll be available afterwards on our YouTube channel, social medias, and definitely also via the link that you accessed here today. So you'll be able to find it pretty easily. And when we are done, you will also receive a questionnaire, how you like the masterclass. But the first, I prepared a few questions, but the first one is, what is so special about the CV? What role does it play in the application process? Just to frame it a little bit, because a CV is only sometimes or most of the time part of an application.
Yes, indeed. Good question, Mikkel. So I would say that actually your resume is a summary of your professional experience, your background as well, but also your career goals and objectives that you would like to achieve. It's like a business card actually that you prepare and formulate towards other stakeholders, and especially for your future employers. That could be your next boss in the career evolution. So it's very important to make a good impression in your resume, and that it's already good prepared and formulated. And regarding the resume, I think we as a recruiter see a lot of resumes, and it's quite an important document. So yeah, I'm really open to share some tips and tricks during the webinar so far. And regarding the resume itself, I have maybe a good question for the public, because we have some scientific studies that show some figures. And my question would be to the public is, how many seconds or minutes does a recruiter take to, in general, review a resume? So that is my question to the public. You can leave your ideas or thoughts in the chat maybe, that you can share it with us. because yeah, it's really an important number to take into recognition when you make your resume as well. So please share your thoughts on how many seconds, minutes a recruiter takes when reviewing a resume.
So many chat messages coming in. So it's between a few seconds up. Yeah, what do we have? We have 62 minutes. We have 8 minutes. 3 minutes, 15 seconds, 15 minutes. Yeah, everything in between a few seconds to quite a lot of minutes. But it's
Okay.
yeah, we might export the chat and do an average, but for now, I guess the fun part was guessing a little bit. But do you, in your experience, how much time do you use?
Well, based on scientific articles, on average, a recruiter takes 6 seconds. 6 seconds to review a resume. So it's very, very limited. When the 6 seconds, you can make a first good impression to a recruiter when applying for a job. This is an average result. It's not really for every person or recruiter applicable, but on average, you make in 6 seconds a decision or a first review on the resume that you receive as a recruiter. So this is something also I want to give to you, to the public as well, to make indeed a good resume and to make it stand out of the crowd and to spend some more time of it on your resume. And that's why we're also here in the masterclass to train you and give you some tips and tricks about it. So the 6 seconds indeed count a lot when applying.
Thanks. And there's a question that might be good to answer already now.
Okay.
In the question box, it's is there a difference between a resume and a CV?
No, it's the same. It's just another synonym, actually.
Yeah, there's some Latin in the two C and the V, as I
Yeah,
remember it. But yeah,
it's the
thanks.
same document.
So we're talking about a CV, we're talking about a resume. It's the same thing.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, and there's other questions as well. But I think, for example, templates for CV and so on, we will we'll probably talk about later in the process here. So,
Yes,
but if we
indeed.
don't cover it enough, yeah, please let us know. All right. So what you explained about, like, of course, you statistically they're looked at really fast, but in these few 6 seconds, like, would it be correct to say that this is a glimpse at who you are, a concentrated glimpse at who you are and your own personal brand that you should convey through the CV?
Yes, indeed. So your resume is reflecting your personality, your experience, your background as well. So make it you, make it authentic, make it reflect on your personal interests, your personal achievements as well. Um, Everyone is unique, so let also your resume be a bit unique on the text and the experience that you bring to the employers as well. I can give an example. If you are like more analytical person, also let this reflect on your resume. Highlight more the analytical skills, competences, also maybe in the visualization of your CV as well. Or if you are more a creative person and you apply for more creative job, for instance, let it also reflect on your resume. Stand out, be think out of the box when you make your resume, but keep it clear that everyone can read it, that it's everyone can read through it, and it's clear in text for the recruiters, but also for the business partners that will see your resume.
Thanks. And now you kind of entered into that the realm of the setup of a resume. So regarding the design, do you have any good tips and tricks on how to attack creating a CV from scratch or updating your CV so it might become perfect?
Yes, sure. Um, regarding the content of your CV or resume, I would say you have five key elements. The first key element is your personal contact information. If you apply for a job, it's crucial, I think, to give also your personal GSM number, telephone number, or mail address. But also, it can also include your LinkedIn profile. This is also maybe interesting for recruiters and also business partners, in which on LinkedIn you can also include some other um, thoughts, information that is not really on your resume to include. So that is one key element, your personal contact information. The second point I would say are your educational backgrounds and studies. This can go up till the latest degree that you achieve, but also beginning from your secondary degree, for instance. You can also explain per year what you achieved, a bachelor degree, master degree, but also like a PhD, postdoc, for instance, and also maybe includes a little bit of text. It's really an explanation of your study if it's appropriate to do. Um, but you can also, yeah, see for yourself what you want to include on your studies or educational background as well. The third point is, of course, the work experience. If you have any, please do include it because it can be different things. It can be an internship. This is also a work experience with like, okay, I did an internship in marketing, for instance. Okay, what kind of project did you do? What kind of tasks or responsibilities did you have during that period? But also like um, student jobs. Student jobs get also an insight on your proactivity, your drivenness as well, to gain some work experience in the field, in the work environment as well. And also, what did you do in that job as well? And also, it can contain volunteering work. Why not? It also shows your engagements, your interests as well. It can be also that you are a trainer or like I don't know, a leader in a student association, for instance. That can also be involved in your resume, but think again on the relevance, what you want to put in your resume. Of course, this can be put on the work experience. A fourth point would be skills and achievements. Skills, this can include hard skills, like for instance, working with several tools like oh, can be MS Office, like Word, Excel, but also like Power BI, for instance, or like for more the Adobe, for instance, or more other kinds of tools that you have learned, but also soft skills. And the soft skills, as you might experience yourself, are getting more important when working in this job market so far. So please do include it if you have gained some experience in communication, in presentation skills, in project management, for instance, or negotiation, or languages. Also, languages are also a good point to address in your resume, and also the level of expertise per language. This is also an important aspect. And then I would say the fifth key element, but it is up to you if you want to include it, yes or no. It's really like more, for instance, yeah, a personal introduction of yourself. If you have like your name and then underneath it, like um, Astrid, I want to achieve a career in HR. I want to bring new insights in recruitment, for instance, like a little introductory 2 or 3 sentences, but it also can be your goals, your objectives that you want to achieve in a new opportunity, or like hobbies. I don't know. It's personal choice, of course, that you can include it on your resume. And also think about on the hobbies part if it's relevant, yes or no. Hobbies can be shown on a resume, but think again, okay, if I apply for this kind of opportunity, is it really relevant to say it? For instance, if you apply for instance, an audit manager position in finance, okay, then including your hobby, I right horse, for instance, is not really relevant to the job you're applying for. So I would leave that out.
All
So at
right.
the moment, yeah, I've set 5 things. So personal contact information, educational background, work experience, skills and achievements. And then the fifth point, you can definitely choose if you want to include it, yes or no. Hobbies or personal introduction, goals, objectives, etc. Like actually, when you're making your resume, it's also good that to think about the order of your information. This is, I think, something personal that you need to see for yourself how you want to organize your resume with all the elements you want to put in. You can also see for some templates as well on the internet. Okay, if you want to have like a resume or CV template, then it's already a bit structured in the text blocks that you can use, of course. But the main thing I want to give in the order information is be clear. Put a title on the work experiences that you summarize, also the educational background, put a title on it that it's really clear for the recruiter or business partners to see, okay, what is what exactly, and leave some space between the blocks as well. So that's very visible and clear to the people what they are reading. And for tools or programs that you also can use to make your resume, it's also a personal choice, of course. I would say maybe Word has already, yeah, upgraded quite some good ways. And Word is also maybe, I think, a basic program or tool you can also use for grammar and spelling as well, because this is really an important aspect, I think, that you don't want any flaws or faults in the spelling or grammar that you're writing, to also use Word on it. Also, like the editor button in Word program can also be used for that aspect, but also like Google some terms or wordings that you want to see, okay, is this written in a correct way as well? And also in Word, you can also use some templates as well in the visualization, also structure of your resume as well. So this is also something that you can use. And for other tools or programs, I think about Canva as well. If you all know it, it's quite an easy program to use and also free to use it. And it's also allows you to use some templates, because if you are looking for a resume or a CV, you just write in the search term, okay, resume, and they already show you some templates that you can use, or some structure that you can use during Canva. And also it allows you a bit as well to be more, yeah, visual, I would say. It's really to put some color in it and to play around with some elements as well, also with symbols as well. With like LinkedIn, you can use a little symbol of LinkedIn, for instance, or your LinkedIn account, but also like the GSM number or address, for instance. It's already it's nice add-in, I would say, to use on your resume. Voila.
A lot of good tips. We also had a few questions while you were explaining, and
Okay.
also just before. Some of the things that has been asked is kind of included in what you said, but we have, for example, here, given 100 job applicants with the same experience, skills, and qualifications, how would you suggest making yourself stand out in having the same basic qualifications, but then any of the things that you said here that you can highlight in this regard?
Yeah. How can you impress us as a recruiter? I would say with the visualization of a resume, it already makes a big impact, I think, than just using a blank, a white paper as a background, put some color in it, use some other visualization or layouts, I would say, than just bullet points and text just below each other. And also highlight some, you couldn't put it in bold, some expertise or skills. You can also do that. Also maybe write a motivational letter. I was also going to say that, write a motivational letter, because you can talk more about the context why you apply for a certain job. If you already have done some interesting job experience, okay, include it in your motivational letter. Why did you do that job experience? Okay, to gain that experience to go towards this new job opportunity, for instance. Or I don't know, it can be also an opportunity to say, okay, I want to apply for a job in the chocolate industry. I'm just saying an example, and you are a food lover, you love chocolate. Okay, write it in the motivational letter. Why not? It's also a plus, I think, to say this, that you're passionate about the products or the things that you will be working for. This also brings very much an added value when recruiters receive an application.
Yeah, and you could say that most things that we go through today, compiled, they make up a pretty nice CV. So that means
Voila.
you've been working on it, you've taken in the input, you've been structuring it, you've been prioritizing. So all of these things are all together what makes a perfect CV, right? So
Yep.
before you mentioned something about soft skills. It's pretty trendy, and it's also something new. Not that the skills didn't exist before, but that they are in focus in CVs and applications. Can you put a little extra words on that? How to highlight soft skills? Because you might, as a student, think, "Oh, everybody knows this," or I studied this, so I have these hard skills, but what about the soft ones? How would you recommend highlighting?
Yeah. There are several ways to highlight them. You can just make a summary of your soft skills, highlight them in bullet points, with the skills or competences that you achieved. But also in other ways, you can show it already by mentioning your internships, your student jobs, your volunteering work, or like hobbies. For instance, I would say, if you did like an internship in product management, for instance, and you apply for, I don't know, a product management position in an international company, that's already a benefit. And they already saw this kind of internship as like, okay, an opportunity to gain soft skills on presenting, on analytical skills, on strategy mindset, and so on. Also with like communicating, collaborating with international stakeholders as well. So this is also an indirect way to mention your soft skills. If you are in during your hobbies, like a training activity that you are training in the gymnastics club, for instance, this also shows your leadership skills, the communication and also collaboration skills of yourself. So this is also something that you can mention, but in an indirect way. The recruiter as well as a business partner sees some soft skills that you already gained during your hobbies, extracurricular activities as well. So there are several ways to highlight them.
Thanks. We have a question as well regarding this 6 second scanning. That could also, yeah, if you know, when you get 6 seconds of attention, what what's the best approach to stand out in that process? Like the 6 seconds. What advice would you give for that? That's a question from a student as well.
Yeah. Yes, good question actually. During these 6 seconds, um, yeah, I can just say honestly, as a recruiter, you see a lot of resumes. That's just our main activity as a job. A recruiter sees a lot of resumes, but then it's really that we are a bit scanning the resume. These are the 6 first seconds when reviewing a resume, and you want to see some key wordings, some key elements. Like if you applied for a sales job, okay, then I'm looking for, okay, what is your background? Is the background in sales management? Yes or no? Is the experience already in sales? Yes or no? Then I'm just scanning, okay, the studies, the work experience as well, some soft skills as well. Okay, presenting project management, sales negotiations, for instance. And these 6 seconds, you already see some keywords that would say, okay, this can be a good profile to continue with, but also like how you visualize your resume as well. Work with some color, also maybe a picture. That's also up to you, but it also can help us as a recruiter to put a face on the text, of course, and make it more personal. And also, yeah, how you show some elements that are relevant for the job as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, but I think we can, we'll get through most of it. What I was thinking, how do you have any tips on sector based, like what kind of job within which sector? Is there a difference on like who reads your resume or CV? How can you prepare for that?
Yeah. You can definitely adjust your resume depending on the sector, company, or job you're applying for, of course. Um, what I would say that you can adjust is highlight some key skills or experiences that are more relevant towards the job or company or sector that you're applying for. I would say not to change everything because this is not really necessary. You have the key information that is for every company or recruiter relevant in the terms of, okay, studies, work experience, personal contact information. This in general can stay the same, but it's like the explanation that you give to the studies or the work experience that you can highlight in a different way when applying for a specific job or sector. Like for instance, if you are a bioengineer and you did a great PhD on a specific project on enzymes, for instance, and you are applying for a position in enzymes, okay, then I would say, okay, you have your studies, you have your PhD, okay, highlight then the project on enzymes, mention it, enzymes, mention ook the international character, the stakeholder management as well. What did you achieve in the project as well? And this can also contribute a lot to the application, make it more relevant towards the job or sector you're applying for, but also like in skills. In the summary of your skills, you can also adjust a bit in the sense, okay, if you're applying for a project management role, you can already say, okay, for project management, I gained 3 or 5 stars of expertise on communication skills or presenting skills or analytics. If there's also a requirement in analytical skills, okay, which kind of tools did you already use in the past, for instance, on Excel or Power BI, for instance. So this can also be a bit adapted towards the job that you're applying for. And additionally on that, you have your basic resume. You can also, as mentioned before, write a motivational letter. This also gives a lot of added value towards your application and also can highlight more the context and the reasoning behind your application as well. So if you want to really adjust a lot or really emphasize, okay, it's really my passion, I really want this job, I would say go for the motivational letter because it's really something that you can use and still do, or recruiters do still appreciate it. That's yeah, an applicant does that. So voila.
Yeah, there's a question that might be relevant here because does a CV have to be one page, or is it fine if it's 2 pages? Because we're talking about a lot of content, but
Yeah,
then we have the motivational letter. It might be a way of introducing more info about yourself, or what do you say?
yeah. Well, there's a bit of yeah, in the recruitment world, a lot of discussion about it. But my personal advice would be, if you are a student and just graduating, please just use a one pager. Why? Because you still have your career to do for the future. And I think in terms of educational background and work experience so far, you can easily put it on a one pager. Um, Sometimes I see yeah, also 2 pages. For instance, if I see like PhD students or postdocs, they have some relevant articles and also studies or projects that they have worked on. Okay, you can definitely mention it. I understand that this is quite some extra information to mention, but on overall, please keep it on a one pager, because this is just clear, short and brief, and clear for the recruiter to review your resume.
All right. Then a question from me, which is probably also interesting for the students. Uh, every time you send an application, should you customize your CV? You kind of said that you should, based on some of the other things, but how important is it, and how would you go about it in maybe in a more effective way, or like how much effort should you put in and so on?
Yeah. Um, as mentioned before, the key elements you can still maintain, but it's also maybe good that you adapt a bit. It shows also the effort that you've put in your application process, and also the background information that you have done about the job, about the company. For instance, if you see like the company values or passion, innovation, collaboration, also, yeah, you can also highlight it in your introduction text of yourself, like mentioning, okay, I'm a great collaborator. I love working with people on international context, for instance. Um, but still, keep in mind that it also needs to reflect yourself as a person, and it's also truthworthy. But you can definitely adapt a bit the elements that are open to do so, like
Mm.
the text, the introductory text, or maybe like some skills, also the goals or objectives that you want to achieve for a certain publication as well. And as mentioned before, the motivational letter can also help you to adapt a bit the context and why you're applying for a certain job.
Thanks. I think that's pretty clear. Definitely a good idea not to be lazy there and not adapt and just make a standout one. That's
Mm.
worth underlining. Um, but for something else here, in regards to adapting, what is your take on the differences in the countries? Do you have any opinions on that? Like, if you, what's the difference between applying in different kinds of countries?
Yeah. Um, for that aspect, I would say I only have experience in recruiting in Belgium, so it's quite limited, my expertise on that aspect. Um, but yeah, it's depending on the country, but also like I think the company culture, and also what kind of sector that you're applying for. um, you can do a little research on the company. Is it
Mm.
really like a more formal approach that they are using, a conservative approach? Okay, adapt a bit your style about making your resume. Is it more open and family based and really low key informal approach? Okay, then you can adapt also a bit the style of your resume as well. And depending as well on the country and the company culture, you can also include a picture of yourself, but it is also a personal choice that you're really free and open to choose to include that picture of yourself. But from my opinion as a recruiter, it gives really a benefit, I think, to include a picture, because I think as a recruiter you remember, and I think everyone can say and agree upon that, that you can remember a lot more a, a person when you see a picture than just text. So it's really easier as well for business stakeholders or recruiters to keep remembering, that was this candidate, it was a really nice profile. Okay, this also
Mm.
can helps you, and this can help you in the recruitment procedure as well, when applying.
Yeah, and there's also a student question about that, if you should or shouldn't include a picture. And we're talking about it here because sometimes it's country based that pictures are might not be the best idea to include in a CV, and sometimes they are. Sometimes it's company culture that defines it. So
Mm,
the takeaway here is probably it's a personal choice, but have a look at if it's okay also before including it,
yeah,
and it can in some cases give you an edge because you're easier to remember if you have a picture.
yeah, indeed.
All right. Um, so are there anything that always is included in a CV? What can stay the same? What fields skills should almost always be part of it?
Yeah. Also a good point. Yeah, I think the most common one is your personal contact information, unless you are moving or on travel. This can always stay the same unless it changed during a certain time. Um, what else can stay the same? It's just, yeah, the work experience, the summary of what kind of job did you do, what kind of education did you do. This will not change in during the period that you're applying, but these are the elements that can definitely be kept on your resume. Also, like the introductionary text, you can easily adapt a bit the text, the content, but you can still maintain the block of your text, as well as the achievements or the skills. You can also keep the content block of these skill sets or achievements, but adapt a bit the content of it during the application periods and depending on the job. And eventually, it's also, as a big tip to add upon that, um, finding a good balance between creativity and clarity, because a recruiter still searches for the relevant information and still keeps in mind, okay, this was a impressive resume in terms of layout or visualization of the text as well. So it's really finding that good balance between those two aspects
Hmm.
that is really making you stand out of the crowd.
All right, but at least now we know what is always included, and so there's no excuse to start even though you don't feel creative at first.
Yeah.
All right. Um, there are some questions in regards to this as well, but I also prepared a little question about the most common mistakes. The student question is, what would you advise not to add, which is kind of the same. What do you
Yeah.
see happens a lot that you should be aware of as a applicant creating a CV?
Yeah, also a good point. I think a very, very important aspect is grammar and spelling. Please do check your texts when you are writing your resume. Let it be read by someone else, by a family member or a friend, or like, I don't know, a colleague of your student job, that they can really go through your text, that they don't see any mistakes in grammar and spelling, because this is really like the basic, I think. If you want to apply, it's really the first impression that you give to a company. You still want to give a good basic grammar and spelling, you can also use words or Google to check upon your wordings and terminology if it's more like technical wordings that you need to use. Um, this is a big flaw sometimes, and also an overload of information, because on your resume, I understand that it's your personal brand and you really want to be proud of your achievements so far, and to really want to emphasize a lot of skills that you already have gained. But be critical. Please do make a brief, correct, and clear resume. You can still write some text behind some expertise or educational background, but don't make it a text of 20 sentences. And it's just not relevant to a recruiter or a business. Just keep it brief, keep it clear, and also check your spelling and grammar, because this is really an important aspect that doesn't need to be underestimated.
Yeah, and you said earlier that hobbies could be relevant, that
Yeah,
soft skills could be relevant. So, um, keeping that in mind, it's interesting that a lot of things can be input. There's not that much that, as long as it's relevant, you could say, right?
yeah, indeed.
All right. Um, and we kind of talked about this, but I have a specific question because there's some things going around that you should avoid different kinds of colors, that something doesn't work, or is that true?
In terms of colors, I would say it's also a personal choice to choose your colors that you would like to put on your resume. But the key point is make sure it's readable. If you use like a very bright color of, I don't know, yellow or red or like dark purple, still make sure that it's readable for everyone. Also, maybe check it with like another student or family member that they can still read text with like a color based layout. That I would say, okay, if it's readable, is it clear? Okay, then you can definitely use color. But the types of color, it's up to you. It's really a personal choice, I think. And you can just play around with it. You can use different colors or formats or shapes, even. Just make sure that it's still readable and clear to the recruiter and also employers.
Thanks. Okay, I think based on the time, we will dig into some student questions.
Okay, great.
Before, you probably have some final tips or something, but I think it'd be very valuable to dig into this. And we answered a few of them, but now you can go in, you guys as on watchers, you can go in, remember to go into the questions and maybe vote for the ones that you like. There are quite a few in there, so we'll probably start from the top and work our way down a little bit. Um, we already answered a few of them, so give me a second. Um, yeah, is there a strategy to structure your CV and cover letter so that minimal effort is required to adapt it to a specific job posting? Might be worth rehashing a little bit on that.
Yeah. So the structure of your resume, there are several templates that you can use. You can search through Google, the internet, also Word, Canva, the tools and programs that I mentioned before to make your resume, and they already suggest the structure of your resume, how you can build it. And it's also great that you see the different blocks, key elements that I already mentioned, stating in the template as well. So it's really clear when using a template, and you can also play with it. You can also structure a bit yeah, otherwise than just a template, for instance. But still, the key elements are very important to mention it on your resume, and this is also, I think, in general mentioned in every template resume.
All right. Then here's another question. Should you strive towards more clean-looking CV with a very simple template, or we can add colors and shapes and pictures? Because a simple template doesn't really reflect yourself and your creativity, but at the same time looks more professional. So, yeah, do you go for more simplicity, or do you go for some creative CV build up if that's what reflects you?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. It's really finding yourself as a person, a good balance between the clear, structured resume and also the creativity that you can bring to the resume as well. Um, just make sure, okay, if you have just a blank white background with just a text on your resume, it's quite, yeah, direct and just clear for everyone, but it doesn't show maybe your um, personality or characteristics or what you're standing for. If you really want to reflect your resume as your response as your personality, do add some elements that shows your this authenticity as well, because this is really a unique piece that is really your personal brand. So you can play around with it. You can definitely add some shapes or symbols or like creative yeah, structure on your resume or colors, but keep in mind the good balance between clarity, being clear to the recruiter, but also the creativity level. If you did like make your resume and put some creative aspects on it, please let it also read by someone else, or maybe someone that already works. I don't know, your mother or father or other friends that already gained some expertise in the labor market, that they can show, okay, is it clear, yes or no? Is it, does it need to still have some adjustment, yes or no? You can definitely ask for their feedback, and I think it would be very much appreciated to have that.
Thanks. Yeah, and also it's just nice to have something that's a draft that
Yep,
represents you, and then you can get feedback on that instead of making something that is boring. Get feedback
yep,
on that as well, but you probably end
indeed.
up with something that is more you, right? If you
Yeah, indeed.
start out a little more um unhinged or uninhibited. But we have more questions. Uh, is Yeah, okay, we have some votes coming in, so the order is different now. How about RPA bots and AI used in recruiting nowadays? How would your resumes adapt to suit these new tools used by employers? Is that something that you use?
Um, well, we don't use AI filtered resume platforms. We do still review ourselves as a person, as a recruiter, all the resumes that come in. But yeah, if a company uses this kind of platform, I would say just make sure that some key elements that are also relevant for the job that you're applying for appear on your resume. Like for instance, if you apply for, I don't know, sales management job, that it also includes your sales backgrounds or expertise as a student job or a hobby or like volunteering, I don't know. Make sure that there are some key elements that also reflect on the relevance of your application, and yeah, still make sure that there are some key information added. If you have like a text block that is possible to add upon your context or the reasoning behind your application, also make sure that you add that information as well, because I think AI can help, but if you apply for a job that is really a reorientation of yourself and that you really want to do something else, yeah, it's more difficult than for the platform to make progress with your candidacy, and let also the people know that you're interested and that you also gain some great soft skills for this kind of job. So yeah, there are some pros and cons for this kind of platforms, but if you do see it that the company uses it, um, make sure that there are some key wordings elements that are relevant for the job mentioned in your resume, and then it can help you in continuing your candidacy for this opportunity.
Right. Makes good sense. We have another question. Of course, you touched upon this in different ways, but maybe you can outline how to go about it. If you have no previous working experience, how do you then make a good CV?
Yeah, good question indeed.
Yes, it depends a little bit on what kind of job you're applying for, but entry
Yeah,
level
no, indeed. Um, if you didn't gain any expertise,
work
you can
experiences.
or work experience.
Yeah. So
You can still add if it's applicable to you as a person. Um, I don't know, maybe internships. I don't know if that's a way. Also volunteering work, but also like hobbies, in the sense that it still needs to be relevant for the job. But like for instance, if you do like you are a trainer in a gymnastics group, or like a leader in a student council, for instance, or showing some very responsibility skills, you can definitely add that under work experience. And if you didn't um, do any of that, okay, then leave it out. Then just say, okay, I studied that. These are my skills that I have gained during my studies, or extra activities and personal life. And then just, okay, be brief, be clear, and then, yeah, just apply for the job.
thanks. Um, Okay, a question here. We have time for a few more, I think, and then we can round off. But is there any particular order in the resume that recruiters observe? Which order is the best to present biodata experience? What order is the best?
What order is
I
the
don't
best?
know, understand the last part, but I guess if you have to structure, do you start with the skills? Do you start with the experiences? Do you have it? Yeah, how do you structure it?
Yeah. A key element that I would say that I'll put at the beginning, or the heading and the upper side of your resume, I would say, yeah, personal information. This needs to be very clear and easily accessible to the recruiter, because yeah, if they are interested, they want to contact you. And then we need your contact information on your cell phone number or your email address. And then the second of that, I would say work experience and studies or educational background, because this is key information for us, and also quite important for every vacancy that is open in a company. They are looking for your background, your gained expertise, your gained skills, and these are the two key elements: education and work experience, that need to be at the upper, very visible on your resume, the biggest parts of your resume.
Mm.
And everything else, like achievement, skills, languages, you can definitely add that below or
There's a
on the
question
side.
here very related to
Yeah.
this. How descriptive should the work experience section be? I've seen examples resumes where they only list the job position name, whereas others go into describing the things done for the position in bullet points. So
Yeah.
saying that should be very present. So I guess you also lean into having some description here.
Yeah, definitely. So regarding the work experience, um, you can definitely list upon the periods, the the job title, the company, and especially, yeah, some responsibilities, but keep it in keywords, like for instance project management of, I don't know, contracts, for instance, or like a new realization or launch, for instance. But keep it like in some keywords, and make it no longer than 2 sentences, for instance, because eventually the recruiter will ask you more about the tasks or responsibilities that you did during that job in an interview or during a phone call. So you can just list upon some keywords or key elements that you already did during that job, and then go to the next job experience and also highlight some key elements.
Okay, so when creating the CV, starting out creating your first one or editing the one you have, is it best to use a website tool like a generator or with a template, or do you think it should be written in Google? You mentioned Word as well. Is there any idea in choosing platform, or is it just based on whatever you want to do?
You're free to choose upon that as well. I would say, in my experience, Word is really a basic tool to check your texts on grammar and spelling. Then you have just your text ready to go, and you can just copy paste it in the tool or program you want to make your resume eventually, and just copy paste it. But then you're sure that it's a good written text. And this is just a basic that you want to have correct when applying, and then you can use all the tools that you want for making up your resume.
Yeah, so key takeaway here is definitely use any tool, but those tools probably don't have as good as a spelling
Yeah.
grammar check as Word tools. Doesn't have to be Microsoft Word, it can be
Yeah.
Google Docs, it can be your email, maybe cross-check, but then input the text into the template afterwards.
Yes,
Right?
indeed.
All right. We should probably round off. Maybe one more question. Should the CV be different if I want to apply to academia job and or to an industry position? So probably related to student positions here, like a money job maybe, or like do you make the same kind of CV?
Yeah. Yeah, from my experience, I've seen a lot of resumes coming from academia already, and I would say keep like the PhD projects and the text giving a bit of content. Keep also the publications maybe, but keep it brief. Not go into depth when applying for the private sector, because yeah, in academia, it would be an added value to go more in depth, maybe about the publications or the PG or the projects, the postdoc projects that you're working on. But for private sector, you can definitely mention it, keep it, but keep it briefer and highlight maybe more the key wordings or achievements that you did relevant to the job, for instance. So that I would say that you can do.
Thanks a lot. Okay, then last question before we round off is probably is there any chance that some of the students watching here can have you reviewing their applications anytime soon?
Yeah, can definitely be the case. If you apply for a company, Piratas, who knows? You can definitely try it, and we have definitely internships open and junior positions as well. So don't hesitate. Then I can definitely review your resume.
Yeah, and I would expect they are all available on the career centers at the in and
Yep.
around the universities and then job teasers. So that's great. And a big thanks. That's the most important part before we shut down the session. Thank you for answering all the questions, and I hope that everybody got something out of it. And good luck on the creating the CVs. I hope that you will join the next masterclass that we have. They're all promoted on the platforms. You can go in and rewatch this via the link that you joined in, or go to our social medias, LinkedIn, and so on, or find it on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you again.